Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. How we doing, everybody? How are things on your neck of the woods? If you're there, wherever you are, listening to us right now, sitting back on your couch, watching some fantasy football recaps, or just getting ready for the wildcard weekend, and you're sitting next to your fantasy football trophy and your winnings, congratulations. Congratulations from the bottom of our hearts. We'd like to think that we played a very large role, but if we didn't, all the same, congratulations merited to you. I think we did. We had some pretty good calls towards the end.
Yeah, we got better at the end.
We got better at the end. I think year one was better than year two, but it's okay. Sometimes you gotta hit the valleys before you hit the peaks, right? So just don't forget that.
It was a weird
for all you winners out there. I mean, I feel like every single year we should do a recap of fantasy, like winners and losers, maybe next episode. Honestly,
yes.
Just to see like a little bit of a post-mortem, if you will. Because I think there were a lot of surprises this year that nobody expected, both from a perspective of players playing a lot better than what everyone expected. I'm looking at you, DeAndre Swift, versus the ones that played a lot worse than everybody expected. I'm looking at you, Lad McConkey. So there's a lot of players out there. I think we're going to get into that a little bit too later on in this episode, because this is a very fun episode. Like, it's very nice to have these episodes where we don't have to necessarily go through, who we think is going to play well this week and who's not going. 100%. This is a very low prep episode. So thank you very much, everyone, for jumping along. Before we begin, the three amigos are down to a dynamic duo just for this week. Nak, you're listening. I know you are. We miss you, buddy. He couldn't make it this episode, but he's going to be back for next week's episode 100%. And we look forward to hearing all the things that you have to say after the Steelers lose to the Houston Texans this week. But apart from that, there's a little bit of an empty space on this podcast, on this episode today 100%. Right now. So we just want to pour one out for Nak. We'll be here next week. It's fine. But apart from our episode we got going on, we're going to be previewing a little bit of the coaching carousel that happened just past Black Monday. And maybe look at how the potential coaching options that exist right now fit into some very interesting scenarios for next year. We're also going to be sprinkling on a little bit of ideas for some drafting of our do not draft list for 2026, just to get a little bit of an idea on how we're feeling right now. It's still very early, and there's still some things that could change between now and when the real playoffs do finish. But at the same time, Roger and I are still very upset on certain players, and we want to make sure that everyone here's the frustration that's being voiced from us right now.
It's the who hurt you list.
Finally, 100%. It's definitely a who hurt you list, and yeah, like some of these scars, you wonder if they're ever going to heal. Finally, we're going to be recapping very quickly, going over who we think is going to come out of this week as winners and losers from a real football perspective. We're going to be previewing some of the matchups right now. So all that and more on this wonderful episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. But before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, I please have to remind every single one of our loyal listeners to please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe on all of our channels. We got a little, what's that called over there, the running banner?
A ticker.
We got a ticker.
That's
the type of podcast that you're listening to, the type that have tickers. So please subscribe on all of our channels at Bush League Huddle. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We engage with our fans even in the off season. So if you have any questions about where Kevin Stefanski's going, hit us up because we got some opinions. But without further ado, I think I'm done talking. I'm gonna let Roger kick this off right now. Roger, take it away with the coaching carousel. Let's go.
Yes, so a lot of recent firings that happened during the season, and then some that happened right after the season. So Arizona Cardinals fired Jonathan Gannon after 3 seasons. Atlanta Falcons fired Raheem Morris after 2 seasons. The one that was somewhat shocking was the Cleveland Browns firing Kevin Stefanski after 6 seasons at the helm, 2 Coach of the Year winnings for him. Las Vegas Raiders fired Pete Carroll to no surprise of anyone. That was just a disastrous season for them. The Giants fired Brian Daboll. It literally feels like almost a season ago. It happened so long ago, but I think we all saw the writing on the wall on that front. Tennessee Titans, same thing with the Giants, fired Brian Callahan quite a while ago, and they've been on the clock for a head coach for a bit. And then the one that literally just came a few hours ago, fresh off the press after 18 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens, they have fired John Harbaugh. That is a big one. That's the type of firing that coaches or teams that have coaches that they somewhat like, they're going to call in to see what it might take to get John Harbaugh. So
yeah, John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski. I think Kyle Brandt said that on Good Morning Football a few days ago when the news for Kevin Stefanski came out, where it's like he's going to be the hottest commodity for every team that needs a head coach, and for those teams that are not sure if they like their head coach or not, he's going to get phone calls for those teams too. Like that. That's and I think John Harbaugh falls in that category.
Yeah, so for me, the one that I think is the most interesting, right? You look at the ones where's their QB in place. So the Baltimore Ravens, that is one. As maybe flawed as Lamar Jackson could be, he's still a 2-time MVP. He's one of the best players in the league. But I think the one that's really interesting, the two that are really interesting, obviously, are the Giants and the Titans. The Giants with Jackson Dart, the Titans with Cam Ward. Cam Ward, I know was Stefanski was very interested in Cam Ward in terms of the pre-draft process last year when he was with the Browns, and I could see a lot of kind of schematically that working out from under center play action. I could see Cam Ward really fitting well in a Kevin Stefanski type of offense. And then, of course, there's the New York Giants with Jackson Dart. He had a very good rookie season. I know, Fab, you and I went back and forth in terms of, look, he plays like an idiot sometimes. He runs into he's basically the QB version of Cam Scadaboo, and I don't think Brian Dable being there was helpful. He literally ran him to the ground. But the last game we saw against was it the Vikings that they played the last game? No, against the Cowboys.
Against the Cowboys.
The Cowboys. A lot of beautiful throws, not as much RPO. He's able to layer the ball in, so that really looks like an attractive position where if we're as Giants fans, I think we're thinking we probably want to go an offensive type of coach in that front. And if you're the Titans, you definitely want to go with an offensive type coach. Didn't work with Brian Callahan, but you have two opportunities here to get guys who have coached before in Kevin Stefanski at the very least. So,
yeah, no, I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, honestly, I'm on the fence if I want an offensive coach from a Giants perspective, just because we've had offensive coaches in the past and they haven't really turned out all that well. And I feel
they were first-time head coaches, though.
I understand, and that's probably the only saving grace that I have for a lot of these guys. Where it's like, okay, I'm willing to go with another offensive coach because he's done it before and he has that body of work, and that's fine for me. But I feel like the Giants' strength is really their defense, and I know it's funny to say when like they let up the most amount of points like in their history practically. But you saw what they put in that defensive line, and then with the 5th overall pick, there's a good chance that they go for a secondary player too.
Yeah,
which I think is helpful. Looking at John Harbaugh leaving, I wouldn't be surprised if like he gets poached by the Cleveland Browns. Like, I don't know.
He's an Ohio guy too.
You think about it, they have a good defense. The Browns have always had a good defense. Their offense is very much sus. We all know that, right? And there really aren't any quarterbacks coming out of the draft process this year, but they could finagle themselves on having a quarterback for however long it is, and maybe get some offensive stars and just figure out the quarterback situation next year, right? But it would be a very interesting situation to see Harbaugh go to Cleveland. The team that I feel like nobody wants to go to are the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're going to be the one. I know they have. The quarterback situation to me is so much in flux over there.
Yes.
And they don't seem like they're going to. I don't even think they have a first-round pick this year or even next year.
They don't from the James Pierce trade.
Right. But all the same, though, there's really no quarterback they're going to be getting anyways this year because it's just Mendoza and it's Dante Moore who are going to go to the Raiders and the Jets, respectively. I think we all know that. The Raiders, to me, seems like a very attractive option, almost on par with the Giants and the Titans. And the Giants and the Titans, I'm only saying that they're the most attractive, not because I'm a homer. Everybody knows I'm a Giants fan. But just because they both have their QBs in place, and you would assume so. But then again, you can say the same thing for the Ravens too, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to coach Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, so I think I disagree with you on the Falcons just because, yes, the QB situation is dire. Not necessarily dire. Cousins look good at the end of the season.
He needs to redo his contract for that to be.
I believe they worked. I believe they've worked on. They did something. I don't remember exactly, but I think they restructured something with regards to his contract. I
heard rumors that they want to restructure the contract because they realize that the way to go forward is not with Michael Penix.
To me, if Cousins. Yeah, and I think even that's a bit too early of a discussion to have. I think Penix, they invested so much into him. they invested in Penix. They kind of put the Cousins situation in a kind of dire, weird situation because then it was kind of like a lame duck QB. But I think they would have made the playoffs with Cousins. The way he played, especially down the stretch, I think he was like at 7-8 touchdowns, only 1 or 2 or 3 INTs. He played very solid down the stretch. I think they would have made the playoffs. All 3 teams being 8-9. But I think the Falcons, they have to go, I think, with an offensive-minded coach. We saw with Raheem Morris, he was more of a defensive-minded head coach.
Yep, I agree with that.
That leads me to maybe a Cliff Kingsbury. That leads me to maybe a Matt Nagy. I can't believe Matt Nagy somehow is back into this hiring cycle again. I mean, he spent some time. With the Chiefs. He had one good season with the Bears, but I'm having a hard time seeing that. I think
I see Matt Nagy as names being thrown around for potential head coaching candidates to be interviewed for the Giants, and I want to throw up in my mouth.
Kafka and Nagy.
Like I
don't want that.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
And I don't want. If you kind of float around Giants Reddit as well, they've kind of said, look, Kafka was nice. It was good. I think he was able to right the ship a little bit. He got them going, but I don't think people want him as the full-time head coach.
He's not the and there's a lot of
more reps.
Yeah, and in the scenarios like you have right now, and it falls the same with the Titans, and even to a degree with the Raiders and the Giants, and even to the Browns, actually, to a degree, right? You have rookie quarterbacks, or about to have a rookie quarterback. You can right the ship. You can put in your own offensive structure, your own defensive structure, and you can really put your best foot forward to cradle this quarterback and make him be the best possible quarterback for your franchise. Because they're coming in clean slate. They're coming in with, okay, we have this guy, or we have a guy that we're going to be drafting in Fernando Mendoza, most likely, with the Raiders. And it's like, those are very enticing and attractive situations for a lot of coaches that both have existing experience, or like a Mike McCarthy who wants to get back into the swing of things. I see Mike McCarthy with the Ravens for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I'm just seeing that with like an existing scenario. I see a very Mike McCarthy the same way with Dallas, and he goes to the Ravens. There is a quarterback there. Like, he wants to instill his own system.
It's not a bad idea. I could also see the Ravens sticking with the defensive identity. Jesse Minter is the DC, fantastic DC with the Chargers. Fantastic. He spent, I think, a good 3-4 years with the Ravens before he moved to Michigan, I believe. So that could be interesting. To me, Cliff Kingsbury to the Raiders makes quite a bit of sense. I don't know if you recall, Fab, he interviewed with Antonio Pierce. When Antonio Pierce had the job, they haggled over, I think, 1 or 2 years in terms of the deal they were looking to give him to being OC, and that's what made him, I guess, not go there. But I think that could be an interesting one. Great offensive mind. They need to pair an offensive mind with whoever the quarterback is going to be, whether it's Minnesota or.
And I don't think it's no coincidence either, that he decided to jump ship when he did. Because there's a lot of stuff now that's coming out of the woodworks, coming out of the locker room, that a lot of the players, Jaden Daniels included, were pretty surprised that he left. They weren't expecting it to happen, and they're kind of upset at the same time too, because obviously there was a report there. But
that's the type of dichotomy that you have when you have a defensive-minded head coach who maybe wants to run the football more, maybe doesn't want to run as much RPO, maybe wants to play more ground and pound type football, versus a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, which is more air attack, throw it down the field, maybe have Jaden Daniels run. So I think maybe last thing I would say is, if you look at all these jobs, it's crazy that I think the Cardinals one is probably the least.
I was about to say that it's the least attractive one. It is.
Well, because what do you do with Kyler Murray? It's concerning that Jacoby Brissett. Look, they didn't win any games. Brissett was good fantasy-wise. Fantasy-wise, he was very good, but they didn't win any games, right?
No, because that team is a hot pile of garbage, and it's not because of Jacoby Brissett. There's other facets that they need to address. Like they went through like their 4th running back because everybody got injured. Yeah, everybody got injured. That's unfortunate.
Everyone got injured. And they kind of have cheap owner. They have similar type of ownership like the Bengals. It's been like a family-run organization. They've been there for a long time. Not always the best processes. They don't always get voted the best in those kind of player polls. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the Cardinals situation. Do they go offense? They just had defense with Jonathan Gannon, who somehow is also getting some look as potential head coach. But I could see maybe like a Brian Flores there, or. Maybe Clint Kubiak hasn't gotten any interviews now. Maybe it's because Seattle has a deep playoff run and they're going to have a bye. But
yes,
to me, that if I have to say, the most enticing situations right now, it's the Titans and the Giants because it's young QBs, it's young
Yeah.
teams, and like you
I would
said,
throw the Raiders in there.
the Raiders.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brock Bowers and
yeah,
Genty, and you're going to be getting number 1 overall pick. Like
yeah,
that is a very, very attractive scenario. You get to choose what you hope is to be your franchise quarterback in either Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza.
totally.
Like those are very attractive options to me. And low key, the Ravens too. I mean, who wouldn't want to coach Lamar Jackson? I know he's not everyone's favorite player, but you got to give props to where it's due for a former MVP.
It will be interesting to see who is there anyone else who maybe fires their coach. Does Mike McDaniel somehow get fired randomly because John Harbaugh is available? That would be really interesting.
Or Mike Tomlin. Like, there's no guarantee
he bought
that
himself another year.
You think he bought himself another year
with
with someone else's kicker making with
let's say that for Knack next week when he's back. I'm sure he'll have a lot of. Let's say that for Knack also, like, depending on if they win or lose.
I think a lot of it has to go. If they're another like one and done, I can see a scenario where they just have conversations to part the ways, or at the very least they don't extend them beyond the next year. Because similar to John Harbaugh, right? I mean, yeah, Tomlin's had success. We're not going to deny that. Like Knack wrote in the thread, like the Raiders have had the Steelers have had 3 coaches since 1969 or something, like, which is stupid,
crazy.
But at the same time, it's like maybe you need to shake things up a bit to get things moving, And anyways, but that's who knows, and the Ravens did that. Like John Harbaugh is going to be the next. Like he's good. Like there's Kevin Stefanski and John Harbaugh. They're going to get the most phone calls for head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways,
very interesting to see.
Very interesting to see. It's honestly like the NFL coaching carousel is so exciting. It's almost as exciting as free agent period. It's so bad.
It's the best. It's the best. It's sad for a lot of these guys, right? Like they've been there for a long time.
Yeah.
We forget that these are people too, right? Like they're people like anyone. Like you have colleagues get fired or whatever.
Yeah, but they know what they signed up for.
Yes,
though. 100%. I mean, I just like NFL players don't have a long career. Like, I don't think coaches have a very long career either. The only saving grace that coaches have is that their positions are more transferable to other teams, whether it's within the NFL or in college. So you're always going to have opportunities for employment.
Yes.
But will you be staying at the same place for 10 plus years? Not really. No, like you're not getting that gold Rolex because you've been there for 20 years. Mind you, no one gives that anymore. But you know what I mean? Like it's not it's not like it once was or ever was. Ready to move on to the next part or what?
Let's do it. Do not draft list. Let's go.
Yeah, so the do not absolutely my pleasure. So the do not draft list, we're going to be going through quickly. Just a bit of a draft between Roger and myself. It's not going to take very long, so please, your attention span is required, please. 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. And the objective here is to draft the worst team possible. So I might as well just draft my team that I had in most of my leagues.
It's the best worst team possible.
It's the best.
We're not trying to sandbag here, right? Yeah.
No, but we're also going to be drafting based off of contempts in the last year from Roger and myself. At least I know I am right off the bat. I even know who I'm picking. I am right away. So we're going to start off with some quarterbacks. It's going to be a snake draft. So we're going to do quarterback first. Yeah, what you want to just kick us off, Roger? You want to have first overall pick?
I will gladly take first overall pick. Yes. I guess it'll be like a 2 QB league, so we'll do 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end. So for me, with the first overall pick, I am going to go with Jalen Hurts. I didn't even have Jalen Hurts, but I was
so happy with this pick. I'm so happy.
Just looking at our friend Guido in the Bush League, fantasy league, like it was just the amount of stress he felt on a weekly basis, and then just to have to deal with the AJ Brown aspect of it, and the Nick Sirianni stuff, and is Jalen Hurts good? Is he not good? Is he going to tush push? Is he not going to tush push? There's the aspect that tush push might be gone in a year or so. So for me, this was an easy one. I didn't even have him, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with Jalen Hurts next year.
Yeah, so he finished with only 8 less points than he did last year. But I think last year it finished as like QB 4 or 5, and this year it finished QB 9. But the big thing, and I'm only saying this because I have his stats in front of me right now, right? So the impressive thing is that his passing yards continue to drop, And his like this year he did pass a little bit more. Like he had a little more passing touchdowns. His rushing upside dropped precipitously this year,
He
which
looks slow. He looks slow when he runs.
he's running like he like the age that he looks like.
You in this take.
Well, man, I showed a picture of Jalen Hurts. Okay, to some people that don't know anything about football, and they're like, is he 38? Is he 35 years old? I was like, no, he's like
He just
27.
looks like an R&B singer.
He looks like every R&B singer. Moving on. So my QB on my do not draft list is Kyler Murray. Like I don't want anything to do with him ever again. Quite frankly, I think I would happily take Jalen Hurts before I ever take Kyler Murray. You don't know what's happening with that contract situation. You don't know what's even happening to him from a health perspective. You don't know what's you're going to get the potential MVP candidate that he was a few years ago. I don't know if that's ever going to come back again. He's never exactly been known to throw a ton. And once the juice is out with his legs, like that's it. You're done with. It's over. So I don't want any shares of Kyler Murray. If I'm starting 2 QBs and even a QB in my flex, I won't even draft him.
What if he ends up like, I don't know. What if Tyreek Hill gets healthy again? He ends up with the Dolphins, or I can't even get myself to believe that.
No, you can't. No, you can't. As Mike Tomlin once said, if my aunt had, you know what, she'd be my. So there it is.
You did that well. You got that one well.
Well, he did it like a few days ago, actually.
And it's crazy how he does those Tomlinisms, and there's no stutter.
It's crazy how we're talking about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, and Nak is in here.
Let's move on. Yeah. So I have this third pick. Do I go QB? Do I go running? I'm gonna go QB, and it's between Jaden Daniels and I hate to say it, but Joe Burrow. But I'm gonna go
Joe Burrow.
I'm gonna go with Jaden Daniels. I'm gonna go with Jaden Daniels.
I agree with this.
I think part of this exercise is also like prefacing. Well, look, if I get Jaden Daniels in, the third round, right? We're in a 2 QB league, so some of these players get drafted obviously earlier than in single QB leagues. But Jaden Daniels as a first round quarterback, I don't want. And I am also looking at it from your lens, Fab. The injuries last year were ridiculous. He was injured for the entire season. And even when he was healthy, he didn't look that great.
Yep.
Clear kind of regression from his rookie season. So I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels. I need to see another year of him being fully healthy for me to be back in. It's not that I wouldn't draft him if, I didn't get him in the second or third round, but as a first round player, I'm going to pass on Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, the fact that also Cliff Kingsbury is gone now. Yeah, I think that also plays a role. Yeah, you don't know how the offense is going to go. Like I'm not saying that he won't be able to adapt, but you would imagine there would be some growing pains when you're learning a new offense, coming back from an injury. Also, you have to figure that you look at the offensive weapons that they have, and it's like, who are they?
Oh.
Like Terry McLaurin is nice and all, but he's getting long in the tooth. Yeah, Terry McLaurin, they're relying
Ertz.
on.
Remember, Ertz got a brutal injury at the end of the year.
No, his career should be done, and I hate to say it because he's been a fantastic tight end, because that was a brutal injury. Terry McLaurin is getting older, and he didn't have a very good year this year. He's very injury riddled. Who is their running back? Nobody knows. Not even they do. So it's like the only thing they have going for them right now was really their quarterback, and I just don't feel confident if I'm starting him, especially in a 1 QB league. Absolutely not. In a 2 QB league, you can argue and you can persuade me, but it's not somebody that I'm running to draft. Put it that way. I guess for my second quarterback, this is an easy one too, but Tua Tagovailoa will not be drafted on any one of my teams.
I mean, that's almost too easy.
Yeah. Okay, fine. When we go for a little bit of a harder one,
that's fine. That's fine. Just like
no, but hold on. I'll fade a first round QB. So again, perspective from a 2 QB league. Some guy that I'm not looking forward to drafting, and I'll only be drafting from if I can fit him into my 2 quarterback slot. So not as my first quarterback.
You're gonna go Joe Burrow.
I think it's gonna be. No, I was gonna go Jordan Love.
Oh,
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Jordan Love to me has been very. He's
had a good real life season. Fantasy hasn't been
real
great.
Life. Yeah, real life. He's been fantastic. He's a great real life quarterback. He's a very efficient and very effective real life
That's
quarterback. He doesn't
interesting.
give you any rushing upside. His touchdowns have been decreasing every year since 2023. His touchdown to INT ratio is fantastic,
It's gotten better and better.
but
That was the knock on him before. It
it's
was like the
gotten
boneheaded
it's gotten better and
interceptions.
better. Yeah, he's gotten better and better. He doesn't pass for a lot of yards. I don't know.
He gets injured quite a bit too.
He's always misses a game or two.
Yeah.
He's never been as injury prone as some of the other guys, but he's not somebody that I'm very excited to draft. Like he's a very good mid-tier quarterback too.
Yeah, that's a good caveat.
Like
That's a good caveat.
yeah, he's a set it and forget it. Like that's it. But he's another one where like I'm not like he finishes quarterback 14. That's like right on the cusp of quarterback 1. No one's going to be drafting him that high next year,
Yeah.
and nor should they, because again, yards have been going down every single year. Touchdowns have been going down every single year. He gives you nothing with his legs. So,
and there's the looming aspect of what happens if the Packers lose this weekend against the Bears. We're going to talk about playoff previews after. Does that mean Matt LaFleur is gone? If Matt LaFleur is gone, that's something that I can be considerably worried about in terms of not having Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love together as a quarterback coach tandem. So,
I would agree. Okay, so let's keep it rolling. Let's get on to I think it's actually the snake draft, isn't it? My turn? No.
Oh yeah, we haven't been doing that. We're just going back and forth. Let's just keep back and forth. It's fine. I'm actually going to skip the running backs and I'm going to go wide receiver. Yeah. To me, this is an easy one. Brian Thomas Jr. Season from hell. He went from 87 receptions last year, 1,200, almost 1,300 yards, 10 TDs to 48 catches, 700 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a 52% catch percentage versus 65% last year. And now with Parker Washington coming along, he looked fantastic. Jacoby Myers, not only did they trade for him, they gave him a big 3-year contract as well. What are you going to do with Travis? Yeah, he's very good. What are you going to do with Travis Hunter? You're seeing Travis Etienne coming out of the backfield. There's still Brenton Strange. This is a very talented wide receiver core.
There's a lot of mouths to feed in the Jaguars offense, and unfortunately, Brian Thomas Jr. is not one of those mouths. And it sucks because the guy came on, and for LSU, we all know how good he was as a college player for the Tigers. It's unfortunate, and I say that because I like LSU and all their wide receivers that come out of there. I can't argue against that thought. I can't argue against that at all. I know for me, from my perspective, the guy that I don't want anything to do with next year is AJ Brown. Like he is a fantastic wide receiver. I've always loved AJ Brown, especially when he played for the Titans. He's your prototypical body wide receiver. He grabs everything. He's great on. He runs routes, contested catch, the whole 9 yards. He is the wide receiver that you want. I don't know what the hell they're doing in Philadelphia, but I want no part of it, because if I do draft AJ Brown, he's going to be for my wide receiver 3, not a wide receiver 1, not even for a wide receiver 2. Way too many headaches.
He's going to go low next year.
He's going to go very low next year. And you wonder if Devontae Smith is going to go higher than AJ Brown next year. I think it's a legitimate conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it also depends what happens with Patullo. The thing is, the Eagles are so good; they could still win the Super Bowl, and everyone is back next year. And this just becomes again the worst offense, the worst good offense to watch in the league again. But yeah, AJ Brown's going to go really low next year. I'll go next. I will go running back this time, and this is a guy I find he's really talented, but he was in the most timeshare of timeshares that you could find this year. Kenneth Walker III. Like what they were doing with him and Zach Charbonnet, when it was very clear that Kenneth Walker III was the more productive running back. He looked more explosive. He was even better from a pass catching perspective, even though it's more Charbonnet who does that. And just Charbonnet is there to stay. And Kenneth Walker is still a little bit injury prone. That's one that I definitely want to avoid and don't want to keep.
I don't disagree with you at all on that. He was on my do not draft list this year, actually. So it really just continued forward. It actually was him and Travis Etienne, because you kind of had the whole Tank Bigsby thing happening in Jacksonville, and he got traded, and Etienne took off, which is great. But Kenneth Walker III, like so much talent, he can't stay healthy, shared backfield, like it's working for them in that offense, right? So I guess they don't really care about fantasy, nor should they, but it's very frustrating. For me, I will be taking a guy, running back, who finished as RB8 this year. Derrick Henry.
You're not. You're calling. You're basically
You
saying
want
you're calling the. This is the. You're saying next year is the year he falls off. You're calling it basically.
Yeah, well, up until his last 3 games of the fantasy season, he did fall off.
I
He. Well, hold on a second. He finished with 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns. Right, fantastic season. You know how many of that came in the last 3 games?
want to say 600.
Yeah, like close to like about 500 yards and 6 touchdowns came in the last 3 games. I don't know what's going on with that offense. They don't consistently give him the ball as often as he should be getting it. That to me is a concern. I think as an RB2, he's fantastic. I think he won't be as an I cannot draft him with full confidence as an RB1. And I wouldn't be surprised if he falls all the way down to flex territory next year.
Yeah, I think part of the reason they fired John Harbaugh is the misuse of Derrick Henry. To your point, and I think that's where Todd Monken will be there as well. And I would agree with you. I think we said a lot in the Bush League Huddle, like
Yeah.
why aren't they giving him the ball? So
yeah,
that's
and
a tough one.
I was advocating for him in his first year with Baltimore. I was like, this guy's going to score 20 touchdowns, like give me 2,000 yards, like no problem. He didn't score that, but he had a very, very good season. Last year he fell off a bit, and then this year again, it's just and you look at his stats, like, hey, like how is this guy talking about not drafting Derrick Henry? Yeah, but look at the numbers. Like, look at when you needed him to play well, he wasn't playing well. Like in the grind of the regular season, where you need him to get you those 25 fantasy points per week, he was coming back with like 4 or 5 or whatever it was, or 10. Like you can't rely on that. And what does it do to get 4 touchdowns and 218 yards in week 17 if you didn't even make the playoffs?
It's true. You and
I'm sorry.
Your Mad Dog Russo voice came out of there again. What does it do?
A little bit, yeah. It's frustrating because it's a 45-point game, and you're like, oh my god, he got.
I could have used this.
Nobody started.
I could have used this. I could have used this weeks ago, or you could have spread it out within like 2 games. I'm gonna go in the same.
Why do you gotta be selfish, bro?
You know what? You saying that, I'm gonna go in the same vein, and this is something I've thought about quite a bit since I've been out of the Bush League Huddle playoffs for basically the last 6-7 weeks. It's a guy I absolutely love at running back, but it was really tough to watch. Josh Jacobs. I am gonna avoid drafting Josh Jacobs next year, and injuries being a big part of it. He seems like, I feel like he always plays
injuries,
injured. He always plays injured.
Yeah.
I love the guy, but he really killed me the few times he got injured where I picked up Emmanuel Wilson, and then I dropped him because Josh Jacobs got all the carries, and then he got injured, and I didn't have Emmanuel Wilson anymore. And I'm sure a lot of people were frustrated with the 4-carry game against those same Ravens you were talking about. But the explosiveness is kind of gone with Josh Jacobs, right? If you're taking a player, a running back in the second round, you want to see home run hits. And I would opt for a guy like Jonathan Taylor or even Devon Achane in terms of this year's draft. Next year, they'll go higher, but I would opt for those guys instead of Josh Jacobs. Lack of explosiveness.
I don't know if Jonathan Taylor's going to go that much higher next year, to be honest with you. He really fell off. He tailed off quite a bit. Their schedule got a lot more difficult, but once Daniel Jones wasn't in that offense anymore, it was a lot more difficult for people for defenses to worry about the pass, right? They were stacking the box a lot more, and their offensive line wasn't playing as nicely as you would like them to play.
So if I could just recap, Fab, I have at two QBs, I have Hurts and Jaden Daniels, 2 running backs, Kenneth Walker and Josh Jacobs, and I have a wide receiver at Brian Thomas Jr. You have 2 quarterbacks in Kyler Murray and Jordan Love. You have a wide receiver, AJ Brown, and then there's Derrick Henry as well.
So I'm missing a wide receiver and a running back?
Yeah.
So let me quickly. So I hate to do this. Kyron Williams, I think this is the last year.
Yes.
I think this is it.
I like this.
I think this is it. I think I was a big proponent of Kyron Williams at the beginning of the season, and he was playing lights out. He was playing like an RB1, even though he's being drafted as an RB2 in the beginning of the season. He was playing very, very well. And then slowly, Blake Corum started to creep in, eat away carries. Not because, from what I've been hearing, not because McVay didn't believe in Kyron Williams anymore, but they wanted to keep him fresh for the playoffs, the real playoffs that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Will that be the same case next year? I don't know. But to me, you see that they're running effectively as a 2-headed running back backfield. at a certain point, something has to give. Like Blake
Yes.
Corum won't just go back on the bench and you'll never see him again. I think this is more of a committee or a timeshare going forward. I can see this being like a Detroit Lions type of backfield where they might get a series here and a series there. The difference is that none of these guys have the juice as Jameer Gibbs does, where he can take it off for 80 yards at the house, right? Like none of these guys have that type of juice. These
Yeah.
guys are rough backs. They're not big guys, but they are tackle demons and they shed tackles and they're very good at that. So I don't know if I can go with Kyron Williams anymore as my RB1. I'd be okay with him as my RB2, but he wouldn't even be my first choice as an RB2.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is what McVay does too.
It's a headache. I don't want.
This is what McVay does too. He kind of disposes of running backs after a few years, as he did with Cam Akers, obviously. And we've been predicting this with regards to Kyron Williams for the past few years. It took a little bit of time to come, but Blake Corum looked too good for him to be sidelined and to not be more of a factor. So I would agree with that. The last one I have.
Yeah, I got to give you a wide receiver. Give me Ladd McConkey. And this is contingent on what happens with Keenan Allen, quite frankly. And the real only reason why I say that is because his number dropped off like exponentially. Keenan Allen came back into the fold, and he is Justin Herbert's favorite target. And if this continues into next year, I'm fading Ladd McConkey to borderline wide receiver 3, low end wide receiver 2, and he finished as wide receiver 30 this year. So I'm not talking out of my rear end. Ladd McConkey is great. He's a fantastic talent, but when Justin Herbert has his favorite target out there in Keenan Allen, like you saw what happened, and I'm not worried about Quentin Johnson.
No,
because Quentin Johnson put up the exact same numbers he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that is pretty much what he is. He's like an 800-yard receiver for 9 touchdowns with like 60.
And they play different positions too.
Too, and that's it. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I think Ladd McConkey, his production lives and dies with Keenan Allen being on that roster.
Yeah, and even Orlando Gadsden to a certain extent too, who came up as well.
Yeah.
Last pick for me. This is an easy one at wide receiver. I'm going to go with another junior, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
This is as do not draft. There's no caveat. There's no, I'll take him in, the 9th round, the 10th round. Do not want. Michael Wilson came on. Michael Wilson finished with 78 catches, 1,000 yards. All of his massive production came after Marvin Harrison Jr. had the appendectomy.
Yes.
He looked fantastic. Great chemistry with Jacoby Brissett. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a trade candidate this year because they see what they have with Michael Wilson. Because when both of them played together, Michael Wilson is just not as effective. And right now, it doesn't look like Marvin Harrison Jr. is as good of a player right now as Michael Wilson. And I think, quite frankly, he just needs a change of scenery. Something looked really off, really weird, lack of confidence, inability to catch the ball. So I definitely do not want him going into the 2026 season, regardless of who he's going to be with.
My last wide receiver, this hurts me a lot to say because he's my boy. I got to go Nico Collins.
Oh, I love to know why.
There's too inconsistency from an injury perspective. There's too much inconsistency in that offense. You have Jalen Noel coming in and Jaden Higgins coming in, and they've seen their role expand within a rookie season. I don't know if CJ Stroud will ever throw for 4,500 yards again. And I just feel like I would not want to invest a wide receiver 1 pick on Nico Collins. I don't have that much confidence in him next year that he'll be able to live up to that wide receiver 1 threshold. He had some good games this year, but he's been very inconsistent. He's a very high end wide receiver 2 for me, but I do not want him as my wide receiver 1, and that pains me because he's a fantastic wide receiver. I just don't know what they're doing in that offense, quite frankly. And, well, I know what they're doing. They're winning games. They don't need to go to Nico. But Nico Collins' best games came when it wasn't CJ Stroud that was throwing in the ball. When it was the backup quarterback. What's his name?
Davis Mills.
Davis Mills. Davis Mills was targeting Nico Collins early, often. And his best games came with Davis Mills. And then CJ Stroud came back and he had okay games, but he didn't have those wide receiver 1 overall numbers that he had before. So
So I have one more wide receiver, and it's not going to be him, but in the same vein as what you're talking about, Drake London. I think he had a fantastic season. He was a bit
Love
injured. I
Drake
think his
London.
his great season was tethered to the fact that even though he didn't have great quarterback play, but I don't necessarily like Drake London as a WR1 on my team. Seeing him in my lineup, seeing kind of the slight inconsistencies with the offense, seeing how much they go to Bijan Robinson in the passing game. Let's see what happens with Kyle Pitts as well. I kind of see Drake London in the same vein as how you see Nico Collins, so I do like that pick, Fab.
Yeah, and to go back to that point, actually, Drake London has been injured quite a bit, but he's a fantastic talent. If Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback next year, it's going to be a lot more Kyle Pitts than it will be Drake London.
Yeah, totally. Because yeah, I agree with you.
Even Davis Sills or whatever his name is.
Sills look good.
Sills look good. Yeah,
Sills look very good. Sills look very good. So I got the last pick. I'm gonna go with a kind of tried and true player that I typically go with, DJ Moore. This is another absolute do not draft. Just a embarrassment of riches for the Chicago Bears. Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, Madunze, Luther Burden looked fantastic.
Burden, great.
He looks so good.
Really good.
It's really, gonna. I think DJ Moore is gonna be on the team. People are talking about being traded. I think he's a team captain there. He's a big leader there, but he's a guy I don't want on that.
They can get a nice haul if they trade him. They really should. They should think about trading him.
He'd be nice in KC.
He would be great in KC because another guy I'm not drafting in KC is Xavier Worthy. I want nothing to do with him. I want nothing to do with him. He's a wide receiver 3. Like why would I want to focus on drafting him as a wide receiver 3? Quite frankly, that's just.
So to recap quickly, I have Jalen Hurts and Jalen Daniels as my QBs, Kenneth Walker III and Josh Jacobs as my running backs, Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., and DJ Moore as the wide receivers. And Fab, you have Kyler Murray and Jordan Love as your QBs, AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, and Nico Collins as your wide receivers, and Derrick Henry and Kyron Williams as running backs. How many of these are you actually going to not draft, Fab?
So I never want to say that a player is an absolutely do not draft. All of it depends on value and where you're getting them. There are some players on that list that I will not draft, depending on unless I'm getting them at the last round, but that's not realistic at all. There are some players on there that I will not draft at all, like Xavier Worthy. I will not draft at all. I want nothing to do with him. But at the same time, you have to weigh your pros and cons, and you have to weigh your values versus. Value versus opportunity cost. And sometimes a lot of these guys will find them perfect example. I wasn't looking to draft Tyreek Hill this year or Garrett Wilson. I ended up drafting
him. That'd be another good one.
Garrett Wilson, up until he got injured, was like wide receiver 7. Mm-hmm. And I drafted him very late in our draft because nobody wanted him because of his quarterback situation. And I saw value there and I picked him anyways. And he returned phenomenal value back. And same thing with Tyreek Hill. Up until his injury, he was producing wide receiver 2 numbers on the cusp of getting those wide receiver 1. On the cusp. Then he got injured and the rest is history, right? So a lot of it depends on where you're drafting these guys and what you're giving up to get them. So nobody's really an absolute do not draft for me, except for maybe Jane Daniels.
DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr. are locked and loaded. Do not drafts.
Kevin Walker
and loaded.
Kevin Walker for me is a do not draft, in every scenario.
If I keep saying it, if there's some players that I draft, slap me silly. And then there's
and Kyler Murray. Teams, honestly, Kyler Murray, I'm never touching with it. You can give him to me, and I'll put him on waivers. I don't want that.
And then there's some teams that the Jets. Not touching anyone from the Jets, just the sorry offenses, even the Titans, depending on what they do with their coach. But for now, I don't want Tony Pollard. I keep getting trapped into the Tony Pollard and Ty J Spears. So we could go on and on with
we really can
with this list. But I'm sure we'll have another one closer to the draft next year. But I think it's good to kind of revisit and see which players are we trying to fade completely right after the season when our mind is fresh off it. So playoffs.
Playoffs.
What do we have?
What do I want a game? Playoffs.
Super wild card weekend. We have Fabio. Maybe we'll just go through some of the teams quickly. Yeah.
Can I just interject? This is my favorite week of the NFL.
It's the best.
This week and next week are my favorite weekends of NFL football. Every game is a legitimately good game. It is the only game that you can watch on TV. And every single one of them has obviously massive implications, but I'm very excited for this weekend in particular. There's so many good matchups. So you want to start off with that? Want to go in in chronological
Go in
order?
order. Yeah, go in order. Yeah, I'm looking at
Perfect.
the
So we got
ESPN schedule right now.
fantastic. So Saturday, January 10th, as this Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure, 4:30 p.m. We have LA versus Carolina at Carolina. Carolina is hosting their first playoff game in like, I don't know, 25 years or something.
Since the J. Delhomme days? No,
I
no,
think
Cam Newton.
so.
Probably Cam Newton.
Yeah, Cam Newton. Let's put some respect on Carolina's name. Yeah, I don't see how LA doesn't win this game. They have a 10.5 point spread. I know stranger things have happened, but I
Well, the
mean,
fact that the Panthers beat the Rams at home and played very well, and I think that
yeah,
was a game they had 1 or 2 pick sixes against Matthew Stafford. The defense was really good,
I, I I think this is contingent on if Devontae Adams comes back. I think it's a different game if he comes
which I
back.
think he's scheduled to play.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we're both on the same page with LA coming out
Yes,
over here.
yes,
But
yes.
at the same time, this might not be the 10.5 point blowout that Vegas assumes is going to be based off their
I have a quick
based on their
question for
spread.
you, Fab. If
Yes.
is it a given so that because the Panthers made the playoffs, we can pencil in Bryce Young as the starting quarterback for the Panthers next year? Does he have to have a really good game, or what if he has a stinker? Do they start to maybe look into seeing what else is out there in the QB market to maybe bring some competition? Because I think a lot of Panther fans or people who are Bryce Young fans would assume, hey, he got to the playoffs, locked and loaded. You could have him in next year. Quickly, I don't know what you think about that. I think he has to have a good, solid game, and if he has one of those stinkers that he is prone to having, I think he has to maybe watch his back next year.
I don't think this game is predicated on whether or not he'll be the quarterback next year. You wanted to draft a quarterback to bring into the playoffs. That's what he did, and he did that in his second year. So
yeah,
whether it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Did he will himself to bring you? Sorry, in his third year, not second year. Did he will himself to bring his team to the playoffs in 3? Yes, he did. Has he gotten better from a stats perspective? At least I don't have his real numbers, but he has gotten better.
Yes, he has. He has.
He now has a true number one wide receiver. Ted McMillan will most likely win the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. As I think, most likely, there's a very good chance he wins. Yeah. He's had a fantastic rookie season. Things can only get better from here. I don't think they can get worse.
Yeah,
I don't think you'll see a regression from Bryce Young. I think they bring in more weapons to help him, and I'm not saying that he's going to be contending for a Super Bowl every single year, but I don't see why they should jump ship on him so quickly when he hasn't played awful to the point where he deserves to be benched. And I go back to Anthony Richardson, or I go back to Daniel Jones when those guys were benched, right? And he was benched. He was benched for 2 games, and he came back and he played better.
Yeah.
So I don't think Bryce Young is the problem. I really don't. If you can even argue that might even be Dave Canales. It's a longer conversation.
I'm just happy you didn't say Bobby Cannavales.
No, isn't that his name? No, that's an actor. It's a great actor too.
He is.
It's a great actor too.
Packers Bears.
So moving on to the next game. Packers Bears. I have no idea. This is going to be such a great game in Chicago.
Can't wait for this game.
Who's that wrestler? Who's a big Chicago fan? He's always on Good Morning Football.
Seth freaking Rollins.
Seth freaking Rollins. Huge Chicago fan, and I love hearing him on Good Morning Football.
Yeah, he's great.
I love hearing him. He's going to be at the game. He's like, I don't care. I don't have to play. I don't have a match on Friday night. I want to be there on Saturday. He's killing it. He's so happy. It's pumped. I think Chicago wins.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So as everyone may or may not know, I've adopted the Bears as my second favorite team. Big Caleb Williams fan. Love what Ben Johnson's made of. This game scares me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of pressure on the Bears because they just beat the Packers, and the Packers are in a downswing big time. But I think the Bears were sandbagging last week against the Lions. I don't think they were showing their best foot forward or their best hand. And I think the Bears are one and done this postseason. But I do think that one win that they do get is against the Packers. So it's going to be close. And it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for this game.
Same. It's one of the games I'm looking forward to the most, to be honest with you. Next game we have, now we're moving on to the Sunday slate. We have, and this is another game I'm fired up about. Let me tell you, man. Oh my goodness, I'm fired up about this game. Buffalo at Jacksonville. The one year that Buffalo were in the playoffs, And Josh Allen doesn't have to go up against Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. He gets Johnny Sunshine in Trevor Lawrence that's just ripping everybody apart right now.
Your boy.
Playing like a man on fire. And I'll be the first one to tell you, mea culpa, when I drafted Trevor Lawrence this year, I was not excited about it. He was going to be my QB2 or even QB3 if I needed to. He ended up being my QB1, obviously, towards the end. He's been putting up a spectacular amount of points every single week. He's looked like a completely different player. And a lot of it, obviously, we're going to give credit where credit is due. It's most likely to Liam Cohen. Yes. And obviously, like you mentioned, the addition of Jacoby Myers. It's just that offense is transforming into the offense that you would expected it to be with Trevor Lawrence. And I cannot, in confidence, assume that Buffalo will take this. I think there's a legitimate chance, and it's not like snowball's chance in hell. No, I think this is I think there's like a 60% chance that Jacksonville wins this game. And the only reason why I'm giving 40% to Buffalo is 20% for Josh Allen and 20% for James Cook. But you have Jacksonville have a good defense, and they have a good offense, and they're playing at home, and they're 9-1 in their last 10 games, dude. They're killing it.
And the Buffalo Bills have a very bad run defense. Travis Etienne has had a very good, very solid year. They could also run. I don't know if Tootin is injured. I don't know if he came back from his injury.
Never mind Etienne having a solid year. All of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence is Lamar Jackson with the ball when he gets out in space. It doesn't make sense. He's had so many rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. They've unlocked that part of his game, and you saw a lot of it from Baker Mayfield last year too. They didn't see that much of it from him this year. It might be the whole Liam Cohen effect. You see it. So I think this is.
I just feel the Bills have feasted. When the Bills have feasted, it's been against bad teams, and again, when they play good teams, they just don't have the firepower on the outside. It's just Josh Allen hero ball. And I think this defense that they're going to play is too good for Josh Allen to just rely on his legs and just play hero ball. So I think I have to go with the Jaguars. I agree with you. This is going to be a very difficult situation for the coach of the Bills, Sean McDermott, if he does not win this game. There's going to be a lot of calls for his head because, like you said, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Yes, no Joe Burrow as well. That's a very good point. Yeah, like there's no excuses. And then Trevor Lawrence comes up. He's like, hey, hold my beer. So anyways, so the next game we have on Sunday, Jan 11th, we have San Francisco at Philadelphia. Yeah, this game's fantastic. Like, who wants to do anything on the weekend? So this game, I would like San Fran to win. I've said it since I think around like week 13. You know, like San Fran's getting healthy at the right time. Everything's finally clicking. You know, Brock Purdy is still a very good quarterback. Juwan Jennings is a good wide receiver. Ricky Pearsall. You've seen flashes of what he can do when he's healthy. The problem is that he can't really stay healthy, and that's obviously a big problem. You have Kittle, who is still George Kittle, and you have Christian McCaffrey. So then their defense, despite having all those injuries, is still playing pretty well. My problem is that Philly are also getting healthy at the right time too, and their defense matches up very well against San Fran's offense. So I think this is going to be one of the lowest scoring games of the week. To be honest with you, I don't think any one team is gonna score a boatload of points.
I have the Eagles.
I have the Eagles just because it's a home advantage. I don't feel good about it though. Like
I have the Eagles really because the Niners can't really rush the passer. And I think you said it, you call it really well. The Eagles match up very well with their offense. Their linebackers, their secondary, their safeties. Everyone could cover everyone here. It's gonna be interesting to see Zach Bond and Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I think Jalen Hurts is gonna have to win this game though. I think it's not just gonna be like rely on Tush Bush or overly rely on Saquon Barkley, who they just haven't been able to move the ball with offensive line issues, or maybe he's been slowed down. I think Jalen Hurts is gonna have to win the game, but this is the Niners are going to look for the revenge. This was, I think, the divisional round game where rematch 2 years ago, Brock Purdy, I think he had the elbow issue. Didn't Christian McCaffrey have to play quarterback or something? Or like, I think someone had to play quarterback because Purdy just couldn't throw the ball. So they're going to be looking for revenge. This is going to be a fascinating game. If the Eagles win, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles win the Super Bowl again. It's as crazy as it is. This is when Hurts comes out.
No, that I would be very surprised if the Eagles win the Super Bowl again. I would be extremely surprised.
This will be a big win for them if they do.
I think it was 20.
Was McCaffrey? McCaffrey was on that team, I believe. Yeah, because Purdy was there when McCaffrey was.
Was it 2023?
I think it was 2023.
Yeah, because it was in January. It was on January 29th,
Yeah.
2023. So it's definitely in the. Yeah, Eagles demolished the Niners 31-7. And let me see if you are correct in the passing scenario. Did Christian McCaffrey? He had one attempt.
Yeah.
Christian
They
McCaffrey.
were just trying to run the ball.
Yeah, but Josh Johnson threw the majority of the
Josh
passes, and
Johnson, my God.
yeah, and Brock Purdy only had 4 attempts. He connected on all 4. He only had 4 attempts. And it was Jalen Hurts who threw for a magnificently 121 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 INTs, like he normally does. But Miles Sanders did score 2 touchdowns on the ground. So did Boston Scott, and so did obviously Jalen Hurts. So, like usual, if the Eagles do win, it will not be because Jalen Hurts throws for 275 yards and 2 touchdowns.
This is going to be a fascinating game. I'm looking forward to this one.
If there are any Eagles fans who are listening to this podcast right now, like we won't have them as listeners after this week. That's fine. The next game that we have Sunday nighter. Oh, this is such a good Sunday nighter. LA Chargers versus New England at New England. So now the knock on New England, and everyone's been saying it, and everyone's been blue in the face, is that they haven't faced a really good team. They haven't faced their record isn't necessarily indicative of how good of a team they might be, because a lot of the teams that they've played have been sub 500. They play in a very favorable division, all that stuff. I don't care about that, quite frankly,
Yes.
because they're getting it done when they need to get it done. They have a good defense. They have a good offense. They have a great quarterback. They have a potential MVP quarterback in Drake May. The truth, Drake May, who I found out the hard way, which rhymes. I'm going to go eat some hay, maybe lay down the bay. I just may. So I'm taking New England here. I'm taking New England. Maybe they might be one and done, but LA Chargers are. I love Herbert. I love the Chargers.
Yeah.
They're too beat up.
Too beat up. So
they're too beat up.
I saw a stat on Twitter that said the Chargers' offensive line and defensive line are both ranked 32nd according to PFF.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know in terms of this game. And it's the Chargers. The Chargers are going to charger during the playoffs. They always do. I have a hard time trusting them. I'm going with the Patriots as well. We went the home team in every game against except for the Rams and Panthers. There's no way it's going to go that way. There's
there's no way it's going to go that way. That's why I think San Fran's going to beat Philly. I really do.
And I think the last one that you're going to mention, Texans and Steelers, I'm probably going to go with the road team there. I mean, the Texans defense is.
God, I hate to say this, but if there's one game that Pittsburgh can win, one team that Pittsburgh can beat, it is the Houston Texans.
That second, I get DK Metcalf will be back.
Yeah.
They won't have Darnell Washington, I don't think, who has been pretty good for them in terms of run blocking and just even catching key passes. But that secondary is just so good. The secondary is so good, and the pass rush is so quick.
Yeah, Darnell Aaron Rodgers. No love and respect, eh?
Daniel Hunter, Will Anderson Jr., Derek Stingley, Lassiter has been amazing. They rush the pass rush, so Aaron Rodgers will not have time to do his very quick drop back and try to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible. Because the cornerback is going to be on top of the wide receivers. You're going with the Steelers?
It's not that I'm going with the Steelers. I think it's going to be Houston, but I would not be surprised if it's a lot closer than what people think. I know the spread's only 3 points right now, and I think that kind of lines up. I'm not like, oh yeah, it's definitely Houston. And despite their they have a fantastic defense, but I don't trust CJ Stroud. I don't know.
Houston's been they've been
I trust their kicker more. Mike Fairbanks is a fantastic kicker in the NFL.
I think they've won 2 playoff games in a row, right? They beat the Chargers last year, and then the year before, I believe, was the Browns.
Okay. So then they're on pace to beat the Steelers this week.
They are the prototypical one and done team, but I do like them quite a bit over the Steelers.
Their defense is spectacular. I can't say that enough. Their defense is very, very good. They beat some really good teams, right? I mean, listen, Indy was whatever. Like the Chargers, they beat the Raiders recently, the Cardinals. They beat the Chiefs, and that was a big measuring stick because I think Mahomes was still healthy at that game. They beat the Bills.
Yes,
all the way back. They beat Jacksonville.
They demolished the Bills.
I'm not saying, yeah, they did. I'm not saying that I don't like their chances. I do like their chances. I just wouldn't be surprised if they lose to Pittsburgh. That's all. I just feel like maybe Rodgers has a little bit of magic left. and he gets it done one last time, and he puts off the upset. But this game's going to finish like 3, 6, 9, 12, like 15-12. It's going to be all kicks. It's going to be all like your place kicker is going to be your fantasy MVP in this game. If you're like, don't draft any one of these quarterbacks for fantasy playoffs. Not that we have, well, we do have actually a fantasy draft happening on Thursday. But don't draft Rodgers. He's not going to make it past this week, or CJ Stroud. You heard it here first. It's a great weekend.
Any other games?
No, I think that's it, right?
That's it. I think that's it for the podcast.
They got the Monday Nighter.
They do.
I guess that's it for the podcast. That is it for the podcast. Yep. So thanks everyone for listening. Do you want me to close it out, Roger? I wasn't sure. I did the intro.
Yeah, close it out. Yeah, close it out. Close it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. This is a bit longer than we expected, but we had a good time, and we hope that you were here for the entirety of it. And if you weren't, you're not listening to this part anyways. But still, thank you very much for sticking around for all this time. Enjoy this weekend. Honestly, enjoy this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Some great matchups. We can't wait to talk about all this stuff next Tuesday. So please listen in when we do that episode, but listen to this one first. And again, follow us on everywhere where you listen to all of your fantasy football, related content. You know where to follow us on YouTube, on Spotify, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter for all of your fantasy football paraphernalia, inquiries, questions. How about who to draft next year? About what's the line for this week? Just ask us any questions we want. You're always there. We're always listening to you. We got you guys. Don't worry about it. Thank you for listening. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. That's Raj. I'm Fab. And on behalf of NAC, peace out.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. I don't think there's one game that I don't want to watch this week.
Yeah, I got to figure out what to do with my kids, man.
Yeah.
Just bring them in the basement and
have
them watch something else while I'm watching football. Too many good games.
I love Saturday games. Oh, I love
Saturday
same.
Games. I really do. It
makes me feel better about staying in and Uber eating food. All right. Peace out, everyone.
Bye,
Take care. Enjoy the weekend.
Goodbye.